Monday, April 20th, 9:56 a.m. Classic case of 420. Didn't even notice it. Back on the markets this morning. We had a kind of eventful weekend, maybe, maybe not. Couple things to talk about and a couple updates on the portfolio construction. Nothing's changed, but just some movements. And so, starting off with the Iran tensions, pretty obviously, still the headline, still the dominant sentiment. As we've discussed, expected further from the inception date, from the start date of this war, this conflict. Whatever the headlines are, they're just going to have less and less effect going forward. And so we had, going into Friday, as we documented, feeling pretty good and confident about further resolution. Well, we got the opposite. And so we had some firing on a ship. I think I heard something about France, which is, I mean, if you're firing on a French ship, it's kind of understandable. Not good, but it's French, so, making a joke. But regardless, there was some, firing from the Iranian IRGC or whatever, the insurgency or whoever. And so the ceasefire did not seem to be holding, and I think that happened on Saturday. So markets closed. We don't see an immediate reaction. Futures open up, I don't know, I think it's like 1800 or 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I think. But I don't really follow it on Sunday night whatsoever. But Monday morning, opening up, and right now looking at CF. And so kind of evidence, and I think it's a pretty good example of this dwindling effect of the news cycle of the headlines. We have this firing, which again, I don't know what would be a bigger escalation or a bigger, hey, this war is still going on, because you kind of have a couple outcomes. Iran saying, hey, we're going to give up our enriched uranium indefinitely past this, whatever this limit is. So operationally, we see that the United States has not seized whatever they said they were going to seize, and so the objectives have not been accomplished. Not that the direction has been very established or present at all. Not really the point. Point being is, what was I going for? I did not trying to go back to like the geopolitics. Just this, I don't know, like from a market reaction standpoint, from Iran firing on ships in the Strait of Hormuz. I don't know what else could be like a bigger stimulus for these stocks that we've been following that have seen appreciation from the conflict. Specifically looking at CF, again, we're still $143 in the profit from our second positioning after securing the $500 on our first time. And so, like I'm saying, the U.S. has not accomplished their goals, but I don't see what would be a bigger like stimulus to say, this stuff is going to reappreciate. And so I don't think I'm going to add here at all. If it does pop up above our entry price, I probably would, but I see this as good because now we have further, again, it kind of just, you have these events, right? We have a ceasefire, right? You have a market reaction. Then you have, again, the potential for Iran to fire on ships, which ends up happening. And so each event brings, again, the dichotomy where both things can happen. Further resolution, or you get this reaction back to the upside, staying to like the market reactions from further conflict. And so it's just people, right, the novelty of the conflict dwindles, so the market reaction dwindles, is kind of my overall thesis, approach, analytical takeaway. And so I don't think there's a bigger stimulus than what's already have occurred, and now we have further stimulus for, hey, another headline round of resolution, right? We're going over United States diplomats going to Pakistan today or tomorrow. Some news headline about Iran saying they don't have high hopes for it because the goal of the United States to completely remove this enriched uranium program is not realistic. And so we'll see what comes of it, but from a trading perspective, we have a pretty, I would say even like 60, from my perspective, 60, I would say 70-30, meaning 70% nothing good comes from these talks, but we have a substantial, or like a non-zero, not a trivial percentage that something good could happen. I don't see as like a failure to get resolution is causing a big market reaction, and specifically to this, again, this fertilizer trade that we have. It's not directly to oil. Not in any way an oil pipeline expert, but not a fertilizer expert either. But just seeing this as not as a direct exposure, but close enough exposure to see direct appreciation in the stock price, but not super consequential to its overall business entirely. We're just playing, this 20% appreciation to the downside. And so I see this as good for further downside again to this overall 100 price point of this total appreciation to me is war driven. And so I see less likely, regardless of any sort of resolution on this immediate next day or two, I don't see much appreciation. If it does, probably will add at these levels, probably won't add. Sitting up $115 on top of the 500 we initially realized. Just kind of, one of these, like I'm saying, this is a lot of positions. We'll get to the next ones here, where it's like you get up a little bit, and just, I don't think I'm going to restructure, and I'm not going to close anything, I don't think. But that's my take on this Iran conflict. For our trading outlook, for our stocks, for our securities we're watching. And then another one, which we've talked about and documented, is what I call the pharmaceutical disruptor, but really just sound science. And so we had an executive order. Couple things. From the news perspective, I heard that Joe Rogan texts Donald Trump, and Donald Trump's up there like, hey man, if this helps with anxiety and depression, which aren't well-defined pathologies, then I'm all for it. And so again, just a quick summary, we've covered what quote-unquote psychedelics do. The cultural verbiage is fine for, again, it's not like you have to be super precise every time. It's just the overall, oh, I got super blackout drunk. Oh, I'm so stoned. Oh, I was tripping balls. It's just like, it doesn't mean anything. But the physiological effects, what happens when people say they have a good trip or it helps them with anxiety or depression? That is actually the cause of that is truly kind of independent from any, again, substance consumption. It's this awareness of, again, this industrial revolution, work. You're in this environment, you're a social creature where you compete. Everyone has a career. Mid-level management couldn't clamor on top of each other anymore if they tried, but they're going to try anyway. And so it's really this awareness where you literally have a substance that causes your brain to process through novel neural pathways. And so that novelty, that's what gives you the vividness of the colors or the appreciation for nature, is very literally just processing sensation through neural pathways that have not been trained, that have not been, like, repetitive thought is a very physical, is a consequence of physical processing through the same neural pathways. And so meaning you don't need like any sort of one given substance or one given experience. It's this overall collective clamoring over each other and awareness that it's just not productive and you're wasting your life effectively. And so that's what anxiety is, or depression is just, it's just like this emergent social phenomenon. It's not real pathology. And so when people take a psychedelic substance or have a good religious experience or go on a hike or whatever the thing is that makes you like think and realize about the world around you, realization, whatever gets you there, you don't need to take a substance to realize stuff. Does it help? Absolutely. And so imagine Donald Trump, if you're watching my video somehow that, the whole world might actually watch the guy that solved all of science. Imagine if, again, you proved all of that and put it on the internet. You would have a little more credibility than Joe Rogan. And so it's just like the science to what is alternative medicine. The pharmaceutical industry is purely fraudulent, truly. I mean, like, it's a direct, immediate consequence is the administration of drugs, have any sort of understanding of cellular biology. Again, it is a direct response to this tension, elasticity, rigidity, firmness, cellular function, disease. You can solve the entire conversation of what medicine could be, what pathology is, what disease is. And so, good thing overall, clearly. I mean, it's long overdue. The whole still, it's just like now, right? It's just like this bar of, there's still the social stigma around cannabis, around psychedelics, and it's just substances that are, have some level of toxicity or not toxicity, some level of efficacy. Does it do what it's designed to do? And again, anxiety and depression are not well defined. And so you're treating things that don't exist with things that have valid science to them, but there's way too much hype around them in general. It's like you don't have like some big hype to go eat whole wheat bread. It's as opposed to like a bunch of processed sugar, right? I mean, it's just like these are more like dietary considerations as opposed to like some big drug, the D word drug, where it's, again, if it does have physiological effects, that's more of being a responsible adult and not engaging in driving a motorized vehicle under the influence of a substance. Not in general, not engaging in any operation of a motorized vehicle without complete cognition, ability to control your motor skills. And so it's just like, people are, again, it's just like a bear in the woods, and then you put a mirror in front of it and it freaks out, and people are just like freaking out again at the society level. I mean, technology, like I'm sitting here with a microphone with HD cameras, like, hey, look at me. That's like the first time people have ever been able to do this. And so the executive order gets signed, emphasizing that Joe Rogan texting Donald Trump and causing this amount of stimulus and change is like, wow, guys, think of all the death and destruction you've caused by not prescribing cannabis oil, and it's proven, and you guys still don't get that, and that's not a suggestion, that's not Brad being anything, right? These results are independent of me. But you guys are too kind of stupid, too privileged, and too isolated from the consequences of your actions, as we cover in every video, to ever really care. But we did see a good pop over here in the stock prices, and so these are ones where it's like, $1,000 of appreciation is $1,000, but in terms of management of a trade, I like these for the longer term, where I'm not going to, we're over there SanDisk, we're trying to jump around for our short position. Risk management, we have to in a lot of cases for shorts. For long positions, it's an overall dollar figure that I'm comfortable putting into a position, overall conviction of the sector, more so than a given stock ticker. I do pick stock tickers, but again, with this herd mentality, what I call the investor maturity being like 8%, I trade a sector for the overall medium-term trends that I think are going to be appreciative. And so won't jump around here much at all, I don't think. I will add to them, but ATAI, we have a little, again, for overall price action, again, we traded up into the 6-7s. I didn't initiate a position here into the mid-3s. So this is not entirely profit. Again, some of the average price is a little janky carryover. And so certainly up again several $100s, probably about $500. I mean, so my average price, again, I don't know why the average price is $227. I bought here right around $350 to $360. And so certainly up a couple dollars. So again, probably right, I would say $300. So there's like certainly something. I don't want to lose that depreciation, but for the overall management, these are the positions where I'm super confident on the overall sector. I'm just going to hold. Any sort of depreciation would be an add consideration. That is the same for DFTX. Used to be MindMed. Interesting trading difference here, where this immediately sold off at the open today, and so. Again, total right around $3,000. Again, the average price here is not correct. Overall, again, down here because we had to close. Again, this is another documentation of damages. This would have been overall profitable, probably around $7,000. I had 950 shares. As we covered, closed out several from this $5 up into the 10. You get an appreciation of 100% after sitting underwater for a while. Makes sense to kind of preserve that, and then we just again flag on up, and so that's super fun. But again, I still don't have constitutional rights. But again, the overall, again, I have a constitutional right to my writings and discoveries. It is well past that. Sabotaging, not publishing fundamental scientific results is death and destruction. That's categorically all it is. So Donald, I continue to emphasize we should get to whoever's pulling the strings and saying, hey, we can't acknowledge fundamental science. We're just refining the linguistics for the finalization of sensorality, which again, the entire analytical process has already been demonstrated. There's nothing new in terms of it's just the final reduction, which why we're still doing this, I have no idea. Regardless, this sold off as a divergence in terms of the sector trading in comparison to ATAI. Just something worth noting, both positions will not, are add considerations. Total exposure still is like $4,000, so it's like I would like them to be bigger, but I just can't take any sort of positionings without constitutional rights. And so that is what's going on for the alternative pharmaceutical sector, which is really just sound science in a policy environment that makes no sense. We had Meta layoffs, which I had written down as just a talking point. Overall operation as a business owner, specifically to the stock market, you cut a bunch of jobs, you get an appreciation, you're cutting overhead. I'm a big critic of the overall labor market in general. I think you get this company's trading at 20 times forward earnings, and then we burn through $500 million, and then we go raise another round at $2.4 billion. We've still never made any profit ever whatsoever, but Johnny Jerkoff over in Silicon Valley is willing to write the check, so we're going to do it. And then we hire a bunch of people because we got a new round, and then we burn through our round in 18 months, and now we're kind of out of money, so we're going to cut off Billy. But Billy just had his big job, and he's all excited. He moved out to Silicon Valley, and he got his house down payment, and then we're over here like, what happened to our jobs numbers? And so it's just like this big clusterfuck of nothing. In terms of this business cycle without real revenue, without real growth. Not a big fan of it. You cut a bunch of people, your stock price appreciates. People like that from a trading perspective. And I don't have any sympathy for people. How do you get a job? Still beyond me. Still well past my ability to function in society. So that was going on. No real other comment past that. SanDisk, again, waiting. Again, I don't think could easily look at a calendar, probably should, but no longer having a position, looking into this earnings call on the 30th, expecting appreciation, substantial appreciation into the earnings, expecting a big sell-off after the earnings, probably we'll try to take a share or two, probably a single share since we've already taken a loss here, but just, again, this trying to catch the top of overall appreciation with, I see, again, continued stimulus on the news cycle for the memory section of the AI technology trade. I mean, strong into the summer. And so the breaking will be the breakdown for the price action. But, definitely not trying to get in front of the train too much. We kind of already did a little bit. And so, regardless, moving on to our final talking point, David Favor can't take his eyes off of CAR, Avis Budget Group. I had not seen this until he brought it up, and this is another, what is this chart? What is this? And so David goes on to explain that two groups control 108% of the shares, which I immediately short-circuited, got brain cancer, and said, what the fuck is that? How do you have 108%? I can say the words, I'm going to give it 110%. I'm going to give it my all. I'm going to give it more than my all. I'm going to give it 110%. Does that mean anything? No. You cannot give more than 100%. You cannot own something that does not exist. So whatever he's trying to articulate by saying they control 108% of the shares, that doesn't mean anything. But there's clearly something going on where he's saying that, or that's the headline. Something's going on. So some sort of short squeeze is what it's articulated. Certainly looks like it. I'm still short-circuiting because owning something that doesn't exist is not possible. But again, I don't know what that means. I just don't know. I don't know what he's trying to say. But the overall chart pattern looks like I just don't know. This is rather unique. This is not something I typically see. So I definitely think this is a short squeeze. Who's squeezing what when we have 108% shares? I don't know. And we might hear some doggy in the background. But that is what I have for this morning. Again, this is a peculiar instance for me. Again, I don't really have any commentary because I don't know what's going on. And the headline was kind of like, huh. But yeah, the dog is barking. We're going to go see what's up with him. So that's what I have for this morning. Again, where's Netflix at? We talked about this yesterday or Friday with this big sell-off. Still kind of flat. So I'm going to keep an eye over here as well. Not really for a position, just for commentary. Because like we agreed with Melissa Lee, this got slammed or tanked or something. But from here, this price action, something to talk about. So that is what I have for today. This 420 Blaze It. It is now almost 10:17. It is 10:16. We're waiting for it. We can't sign off till Gucci Mane says if he's out of the hospital. Was he in the hospital? No, that was the Migos. that was the Migos. And yeah, Gucci Mane was robbed by his signee, his contract person. Come on, where's 10:17? We have 15 seconds. Now we gotta wait for it. I mean, it's part of the trading over here. It's the 10:17 hour. It really is. Like, I'm not even being pedantic about the to the minute of the. There it is. There's 10:17. But that is what I have. That should be the end of the morning trade. We will check in later. Monday, April 20th, 4:28 p.m. What's up, everybody? So the market closed going on just about 30 minutes now. We are looking at DFTX, following up with our big news pop from this executive order that we discussed this morning. So DFTX pretty much sold back the entire gains of the day. Not super surprising. Again, all of these gap ups, as we cover, and that's typically something you would short, or again, we've been shorting, is this pre-market appreciation on some sort of news event. Technically, gaps typically fill. That is a sentiment you'll hear a bunch, and it's borne out to be pretty true in my experience. So for an overall trading perspective, that looks pretty good. Obviously, it's not super fun to be up in the morning and then down in the afternoon. But like I said, these are positions we're pretty much just looking to add for the long term. DFTX and ATAI, this alternative pharmaceutical sector. We touched on a little bit of the science this morning. I've covered it pretty extensively in my other videos. There's only so much fundamental science to cover. But regardless, this one held up. ATAI held up better. DFTX was kind of at a higher end of its range. This was kind of, had appreciated up to 675, then back down to 3, and then, up between 475 and 550. And so just holding these, but not just because they kind of sold off today after the news. CAR, this is another one, again, that we were talking about. Oh, wow, this closed up even more. And so we'll be following this. Again, I have no intention of taking a position here. Hard to borrow, not something. Even like SanDisk we've been following, this to me, this is not like natural trading. This is like whatever David Favor was saying. Again, the 108% still makes no sense, but something's going on here where it's just like a mechanical covering, trying to, but we'll follow this with any insight. Currently, I have 0. But certainly an interesting and peculiar chart. So everything else is kind of flat. I did close CF at plus like $80, right around $16.50 to $16.70. I just hit close market, so it was probably $16.70, kind of upper towards the top up here. But just again, no insight. The whipsaw of the Iran-Trump or Iran-United States interaction war seemed like, hey, these talks tomorrow or later today or within the next 24 hours are not going to be super productive, literally just going off the headlines that everyone's seeing. So I figure, hey, yeah, it's, I'm up $100, might as well lock that in and we'll see. As I said this morning, still see a good downside to the $100 price level, but figured lock-ins and profits. If it pops back up in the morning, we'll probably reshort it. Certainly will follow it. If it opens up lower and there's some sort of more resolution, which is just the overall news cycle did not seem like that was very likely. And so no insight, no special insight whatsoever, just up $100. And if this felt like it might pop back up, so close this out. Still no position. SanDisk just looking strong. The rest of the market, again, they're talking about the first down day in 3 weeks, just after the market closed with Melissa Lee. Again, no real insight past just waiting on this resolution for the war, or for the next thing to comment on. Couple talking points. Just the overall, again, the demeanor when I'm sitting over here talking about CEOs not having like the best overall like market awareness or just discussing of trading. Most of the hosts on CNBC do a much better job at just stimulating conversation for the investing environment. And so we had Barbara Humpton from USA Rare Earth, another lady from absolute privileged land that I keep hearing about this world again. This company, a couple things. I don't even know what they do, but the branding, it's always peculiar when USA Rare Earth. It just sounds like, you go on vacation to Hilton Head and all of the little Chotsky souvenir shops are Hilton Head this, like super touristy type branding. And so just the overall, I don't want to say respectability of your brand, but just your brand image. Like it seems like a lot of things that are branded like super, if it's a college town, all of the things around the college, or if it's a tourist for the country, everything around the country. So I always feel like things that are labeled like USA Rare Earth are like not like a series of brands, but then you go look at like what? Okay, JP Morgan Chase, like it's just a dude's name. And so it's like another psychological thing that kind of I thought about, and I've thought about before, is just what makes something like have a brand awareness where it's like, I don't want to say like respectable, but just like prestige or some class, sophistication, as opposed to just like USA Solar or USA Rare Earth, or just where it feels like very not gimmicky even, but just like branded off of something that already has market share, like a country, a sports team, a city, so on and so forth. And so a little branding consideration that just always pops up with stuff like this. But then when I'm saying privileged land, you have a company at the multi-billion dollars, you're a CEO of a company with no revenue. I just don't even know. I don't get how that like starts being a thing. It's like, hey, we've never made $1. We're gonna rare earth minerals? So I'm gonna guess some sort of mining or something. Are we gonna mine asteroids? Maybe, I don't know. Again, I didn't even look into the company. Didn't really watch the news cycle that diligently today. It was just, again, seeing companies valued so high, and it's just like, what? You haven't done anything. You've done literally zero things. And then on top of that, her overall demeanor, it just like you can see her presentation where it's like, look around the room, make eye contact with everyone you're talking to. She's all excited. And it's just, again, another makes me go, huh, every time you see like the CEO, where it's like, these are the people that are hiring people that I try to apply to, and it's like their demeanor is just like juvenile. Just something else stuck out about this Barbara chick was just her overall demeanor as a CEO was like, ugh. Regardless, most poignant aspect of that talking point is just, again, how do you get these big valuations on no revenue? Just a world of privilege I've never been exposed to. Final talking point for today is that Kash Patel files a $250 million defamation suit against The Atlantic and reporter Sarah Fitzpatrick for actual malice, about being incapable drunk at the job as the head of the FBI. We've commented on the political structure of the administration. What is defamation? Again, it has to be true, or it has to be false, or it has to be some sort of slander or libel, and it has to cause you actual damages. And then when you're a public figure, establishing damages where it's like, hey, I'm a celebrity and I sold $100 million worth of merchandise this 5-year period and only $25 million, and Johnny said some negative things, like, can you really attribute some statement over here to some sort of financial loss? It gets less and less convincing the more public you are. And again, you have to establish, again, what are the damages? Are you living at your parents' house without constitutional rights directly cited, where here's the law, here's contractually owed money? It's like, here's my inability to access my credentials. Not to make it about me, but just to use a case where it's like the damages are extremely clear, which are still going on. Awesome. Still don't have constitutional rights. But the more public you are, the harder it is to establish, again, the terminology legally, actual malice. Again, actual, real malice. like even if you have just going on the like the what words mean in a legal context, again, malice, like you could have malice and still not cause damages. And so to me, causing damages is like the biggest operative verbiage legally. But the precedent, this circle jerk we're playing of precedent, which is again, I went to Harvard, I went to Princeton, I went to Wharton, I went to whatever law school, so I'm going to write this great big result. And it's like, nope, words have meaning independent of everybody. I happen to be the dude that's pointing out most of the results, but all of the results are independent of everybody. And so words are naturally defined. You can draw definitive conclusions. And so precedent, truly, I've said it a bunch, it's not valid. It's been proven inadequate, inconsistent, and it's true. Influential, fluency is influential, it's directly demonstrable immediately. And so actual malice is not the right verbiage, but for the precedent, that's what they're saying is there was actual malice. There was an actually fraudulent statement, something knowably false. The reporter had a reasonable professional expectation to investigate something before running a story. In general, I'm certainly for, if you file a lawsuit, like again, punishing people that file frivolous lawsuits. From any aspect of life, big, small, neutral, right? If you bog down the court system with just bullshit, I think you should be punished pretty substantially. Because then again, you get this verbiage from Kash Patel that says, I'll see you in court, bring your checkbook. Again, this is the head of the FBI. It's like this whole diction around litigation in the United States is like this, I'm going to get my lawyers. Law should be accessible to everybody. It should not be some big mystical, I need to go to law school again for basic defense, basic articulation of your rights, so on and so forth. Again, the law is how you function every day. You should know how to do that. And again, common law is a thing where it's like you've never been to law school one time. You're just a human being going out living your day, and you're like, wow, somebody's done something really wrong to me. That's what common law is. Not judicial action. But regardless, you shouldn't have to say, I'll see you in court, bring your checkbook. If someone causes you damages, you should have a reasonable expectation for remuneration, for tort. Right? If you get extorted, you should get your tort. But the verbiage, you shouldn't have to say that at all in general. Kash Patel's an embarrassment as the head of the FBI. Actual malice is not good verbiage for precedent, or for establishing defamation. Actual malice being the precedent is another example of you guys not understanding words have meaning, and that meaning is independent of one person. But I would heavily say this is just a frivolous lawsuit. Again, what damages has Kash Patel incurred? He's the head of the FBI, right? Again, it has to be like some sort of like meaningful damage. Just not just saying, well, he can't get another job. Did he get fired because of it? Where is the damages? And so $250 million, that dude, again, you shouldn't just, again, put some arbitrary number to say, this is how much I think I'm worth. Again, it's just like, and then again, I revert back to my situation where it's like, I actually have property and shit that it's just like, it's a historical, this is like humongous. And actually, but then you have other examples where it's just like, you owe me $250 million because that sounds like a lot to a single individual. Has there been clear articulated damages to that dollar figure, yes or no? If it's yes, again, there's no dollar figure that goes, big to me. But then where are the articulated damages? Just reputational slander of your name? Again, I am facing personally the slander and defamation of character to the highest level. It's like, I can articulate contracts, I can show you, there's no comparable. Again, my situation's not a good example, but just somebody feels wronged in the slightest, hey, I want this amount of dollars, and it's not proportionate to the damages, is just, to me, again, there should be punishment, retribution for that bogging down of the court system. And so that's what I have for the talking points today. Overall, not much more on the trading. And so, finishing up right here at 4:41 p.m. on April 20th. 4:20, blaze it. Man, that's what I got, and we'll check in later.